Let's start with carcinoma breast. What do you need to know in CA breast? First, we need to know the incidence, its risk factors, pathology or types, clinical features, spread, clinical examination, staging, investigations, and treatment. Now we'll see the incidence of CA breast. In India, as of 2018, ICMR statistics obtained from Indian cancer registries, CA breast is the number one leading cause of cancer-related mortality. In United States, breast cancer remains the most frequent cause of cancer in women and the second most frequent cause of cancer death. Now we'll see the risk factors for breast cancer. They are divided into non-modifiable and modifiable. The non-modifiable risk factors include the female sex. Women are 100 times more likely to have breast cancer as compared to men. Second is the age. More common is between 35 to 75 years of age. Next is the race. It is higher in whites, rare in Japanese and Taiwanese population. And next is the hereditary factors. A family history of breast cancer has long been recognized as a risk factor for the disease. History of breast cancer. Risk of developing second breast cancer is about 0.5 to 0.7% in women with previous invasive breast cancer. Hormonal factors. Early age at menarche, nulliparity, or late age at first full-term pregnancy and late age at menopause increases the risk of developing breast cancer. Last is benign breast disease. Proliferative diseases with atypical hyperplasia is associated with greater risk of breast cancer. Now we'll see the modifiable risk factors. First is postmenopausal HRT, which is particularly when a combination of estrogen and progesterone is used. Next is postmenopausal obesity. Third is smoking. Fourth is alcohol. And last is exposure to ionizing radiation at a young age. Now we'll move on to the pathology or types of breast cancer. We have non-invasive and invasive type of breast cancer. Under the non-invasive breast cancer, we have ductal carcinoma in situ and lobular carcinoma in situ. In invasive breast cancer, we have invasive lobular carcinoma, serous carcinoma, tubular carcinoma, cribriform carcinoma, mucinous carcinoma, papillary carcinoma, Paget's disease of the nipple, and inflammatory breast cancer. Let's see first the non-invasive type of breast carcinoma. In non-invasive, we have two types, ductal carcinoma in situ and lobular carcinoma in situ. So let's see the comparison between LCIS and DCIS. LCIS is originated from terminal duct lobular units, that is TDLU, whereas DCIS originates from epithelium that lines minor breast ducts. Its incidence in males in LCIS is not found, whereas in DCIS there are 5% chances of male breast cancer. Thus we'll see the changes into invasive cancer. LCIS can give rise to both lobular and ductal carcinoma, whereas DCIS gives rise to invasive ductal cancer. LCIS is seen in mostly 44 to 47 years of age, whereas DCIS is seen in 54 to 58 years of age. The incidence of LCIS is approximately 2 to 5%, whereas DCIS is 5 to 10%. There are no clinical signs present in LCIS. In DCIS, we have mass, pain, and nipple discharge. There is no mammographic signs present in LCIS, whereas in DCIS, the mammography will show microcalcification. Next, we'll move on to invasive or infiltrating type of ductal carcinoma. infiltrating islands of malignant cells forming glands and trabeculae surrounded by desmoplastic stroma, which is a characteristic microscopic feature of invasive ductal carcinoma. In invasive ductal carcinoma, the cancer is spread beyond the basement membrane. So, the most common histological type of breast cancer is invasive ductal carcinoma, which comprises of 70 to 80% cases. Since it is diagnosed after excluding all other types of breast cancer, it is classified as infiltrating carcinoma of no special type. Next, we have serous carcinoma. Serous carcinoma is the most common form seen in about 60 to 75% of patients. In this variety, there is increased fibrotic reaction and less cellular reaction. It presents as a hard lump, hence the name serous carcinoma. It produces grating sound when it is cut. The cut surfaces are concave and the chalky white necrosis and calcification may be visible. This is a type of lesion which produces retraction of the nipple, infiltration of the skin, and fixity to the chest wall, as seen in the adjoining figure. Next, we have medullary carcinoma and infiltrating carcinoma. Medullary carcinoma is a type which accounts for less than 5% of all breast cancers. Medullary breast cancer is more common carriers of BRCA1 mutation. It is commonly a triple negative breast cancer, that is ER negative, that is estrogen receptor negative, progesterone receptor negative, and HER2 negative. Inflammatory carcinoma. The word inflammatory is actually a misnomer and given because of physical findings of erythema and warmth. It constitutes less than 1% of all cases of carcinoma breast. It can also be misdiagnosed as breast abscess. Next, we have the Paget's disease of the nipple. The Paget's disease of nipple is rare. It is seen in 1 to 4.3% of all breast carcinoma. It is also a misnomer as it is not a disease of the nipple, but it is often associated with underlying ductal carcinoma in situ or invasive ductal cancer. The complaints of the pain or itching are frequent and the nipple may be retracted or deformed as seen in the figure. Next, we have mucinous carcinoma or colloid carcinoma. It is diagnosed because of production of mucin, as the name suggests, intracellularly and extracellularly. Prognosis of this variety of carcinoma breast is better than other infiltrating duct carcinomas. Now we'll move on to the clinical features of carcinoma breast. Now, a lump in the breast is the most common presentation. Bleeding per nipple is an uncommon symptom of carcinoma of the breast, and pain is a late sign in carcinoma breast. The important signs of carcinoma breast include the nipples may be elevated and retracted as it is seen in the figure. It is a centrally retracted nipple. Recent retraction indicates malignancy. Next, we can also have destruction of the nipple, which is a feature of Paget's disease of the nipple. The lump is usually hard and irregular, but it can also be firm, and in some subtypes it can be soft. We also see puckering or dimpling of the skin, which is due to thin fibrous bands which are embedded in the subcutaneous fat and are attached to the skin and pectoral fascia. Edema of the breast is also one of the late signs of carcinoma breast. We also have pseudo orange, which literally means orange peel-like appearance. Next, we move on to the spread of carcinoma breast. Now, there are three routes for the spread. First is local spread, which is infiltrating into the skin causing ulceration, fungation, bleeding, and secondary infection. Next is lymphatic spread. The lymph nodes involved include central group of lymph nodes that are all part of axillary lymph nodes, which are pectoral, lateral, and subscapular. We also have internal mammary lymph nodes which are responsible for the spread. Next, the third is hematogenous spread. This hematogenous spread is to organs like liver, lung parenchyma, and even there are secondaries in flat bones and secondaries in the brain. Now we move on to how we clinically examine a case of CA breast. First is inspection, then is palpation, and then is axillary lymph node examination. First we'll move on to inspection. The position of the patient should be hands to the sides of the patient. First we examine the nipples. We compare the level of the nipples. We see for destruction, which indicates Paget's disease of the nipple as shown in the clinical features. And third, we see for retraction. We also see for any nipple discharge. Next, we examine the areolar. Now, as was seen in clinical features, pseudo orange may occur in the areolar. Next, we also examine the skin of the breast. We look for ulceration, satellite nodules, dimpling, pseudo orange, edema, erythema, scars, and dilated veins. We also examine for lump. If a lump is seen, then it should be described in detail. Next, the hands are above the head of the patient. In this position, we see for pseudo orange, which gets noticed better by this position. Now we move on to palpation. First finding is a local rise of temperature and tenderness, which is usually not found in cases of carcinoma breast. However, the rapidly growing carcinoma and inflammatory carcinomas do exhibit local rise of temperature, redness, and tenderness. Next, we describe the lump. The lump is the commonest presentation of carcinoma of the breast, where the upper and the outer quadrant is the commonest site in CA breast because of more breast tissue in that quadrant, and typically the lump will be hard and irregular. Next is intrinsic motility, which may be present but it moves with the breast tissue. Plane of the swelling. We lift the skin. If it is not possible, it indicates that the tumor is fixed to the skin. Next, we check for fixity to the chest wall. A tumor which is fixed to the chest wall will not be mobile when pectoralis major is relaxed. Now we move into axillary lymph node examination. First, we examine the central group of nodes and the pectoral group of nodes, which will be enlarged. It is very difficult to feel the apical group of nodes. If the axillary nodes are hard with or without fixity, then also they are significant. Soft to firm nodes need not be malignant but can be due to secondary infection because of fungating and ulcerating growth. Now we move on to a very important part, that is staging of CA breast. We use the T and M staging, that is the tumor nodal metastasis staging. First is tumor. T0 will indicate no demonstrable tumor in the breast. T1S indicates pre-invasive carcinoma, that is carcinoma in situ. T1 means tumor will be 2 cm or less where the skin is not involved or involved only locally as seen in Paget's disease. Next is T2 where tumor size is 2 to 5 cm. T3 tumor is greater than 5 cm. T4 this tumor can be of any size including skin infiltration, ulceration, skin edema, pseudo orange, pectoralis major muscle or chest wall attachment. Next we see for regional lymph nodes, the nodal component. If it is N0, which means no clinically palpable axillary lymph nodes. If it is N1, then there are clinically palpable axillary nodes. N2 means clinically palpable but fixed axillary nodes, and metastasis can be suspected. If it is N3, it means homolateral supra or infraclavicular nodes considered to contain metastasis, and them also may edema to the arms. Distinct metastasis. M0, which indicates no distinct metastasis. M1 is clinical and radiological evidence of metastasis except those to homolateral axillary or infraclavicular lymph nodes include skin involvement beyond the breast. Now we move on How will you investigate or diagnose a case of CA breast? First are the laboratory investigations. The laboratory investigations include a full blood count. The hemoglobin in this case may be low. We also do liver function test. Elevated serum alkaline phosphatase indicates metastasis in the liver or the bone. We also do renal function test, which requires when planning a chemotherapy regimen. Next, we move on to local imaging studies. These include ultrasound of the breast, bilateral mammogram, and ultrasound of lymph nodes. Ultrasound of the breast is the first investigation. It accurately measures the lump size, more accurate for lymph node assessment. Mammogram Mammogram detects any multifocal and multicentric lesions. It is done before the biopsy. We also have breast MRI, which is an optional investigation. It is not mandatory. Indications include BRC associated CA breast, bilateral tumors, or reconstructed breast. Third we have is the biopsy. The presence or absence of carcinoma can only be reliably determined by a tissue biopsy. The biopsy techniques include FNAC, core needle biopsy, and excisional biopsy. Next, we have investigations for metastasis, which include chest X-ray, abdominal USG, CT scan of thorax and abdomen, bone scan, CT scan of brain, and a PET CT scan. We also have certain biological markers like estrogen receptors, progesterone receptors, HER2, and Ki67 index. Now we move on to the treatment of early breast cancer, that is TNM stage 1 and stage 2. This treatment is divided into two subparts, that is local and systemic. The local treatment includes surgery. The surgeries are radical mastectomy, modified radical mastectomy, sentinel lymph node biopsy, breast conserving surgery, and next is radiotherapy. The systemic treatment includes chemotherapy and adjuvant hormonal therapy. Now, as seen in this figure, this is a Pate mastectomy specimen. In this operation, the entire breast, including the axillary tail with all the axillary group of lymph nodes and pectoralis minor muscles are removed. Now we move on to treatment of locally advanced breast carcinoma. The treatment is almost same, that is neoadjuvant chemotherapy, radiotherapy, neoadjuvant hormonal therapy. Now, as you can see in this figure, this is shown a locally advanced breast carcinoma where the tumor was fixed to the skin with pseudo orange. Here the tumor was 8 centimeters in size. Now we move on to the treatment of metastatic breast cancer, which includes palliative hormonal therapy, palliative chemotherapy, palliative surgery, and palliative radiotherapy. Now we'll see scope of homeopathy in cases of breast cancer. Homeopathy has poor scope in advanced cases of breast cancer. Homeopathic drugs can play a major role in palliative treatment to relieve the cancer pains and suffering. The indicated constitutional remedy to the patient with proper use of anti-miasmatic drug and the nosodes along with acute symptomatic drugs, we can help to improve the prognosis in early stages of cancer. Some homeopathic remedies which are in a Matina Medica include Conium, Hydrastis, Phytolacca, Plumbum iodatum, Carbo animalis, Graphitis, Ars iode, Carcinosin. So here we come at the end of this presentation. Thank you.